Hi, we're going to proceed with the next lesson now and discuss how to start a default or uncontested divorce. So, contrary to popular belief, you do not need to hire a lawyer to complete the divorce process for you as far as helping you fill out the forms. Usually you should consult with an attorney if you have contested divorce issues that will likely lead to some type of litigation. So in this course, there's a couple more lessons after this that are just going to provide that broad generic overview on how to get the divorce process started before I go detail step-by-step instructions on how to fill out some of these forms I'm going to be referencing in this particular lesson. So in this lesson, I'm going to provide you with information about the forms you need to file for an uncontested or default divorce. Again, these are just the forms to get the process going. Remember, the person filing for a divorce is referred to as the petitioner, and that's going to be consistent throughout the lesson. So the person responding to the divorce is going to be referred to as the respondent, as discussed in our previous lesson. So regardless if you are filing for a default or uncontested divorce, you must complete the forms identified on this screen. The first form is FL100, the petition for marriage and the petition for dissolution of marriage. FL110, which is the court summons. FL105, which is the Declaration under Uniform Child Custody, Jurisdiction, and Enforcement Act. FL115, proof of service of summons. FL311, child custody and visitation application attachment, and local court forms. I'm going to do a detailed video on how to find your local court forms. There is a checklist that was emailed to you. Please use that checklist as you're completing the forms throughout this course to make sure you don't miss anything. If you miss a form, you don't submit the correct form, the clerk will return your documents to you and request that you do so before processing your documents. So those forms, like I said, must be completed whether or not you're obtaining a default or uncontested divorce judgment. And once you complete those forms and file them with the court's office, you should relatively have them served on the respondent as soon as possible. Now keep in mind that there is no set statutory limitation as to when the petitioner has to serve the respondent. However, if a certain amount of time goes by, say 120 days, and there is no activity with the case, the court may dismiss the case. Please note that the court charges a $435 filing fee for filing for divorce. Both parties are required to pay that fee. However, if you are low income, you might be able to obtain a fee waiver, thus waiving that $435 filing fee. Now, the respondent. The respondent must complete the following documents when responding to the divorce. The respondent's going to complete FL120, response to marriage dissolution. They're also going to complete Form FL105. Now, I also previously mentioned Form FL105 and FL311 for the petitioner. If you do not have any minor children, you do not need to fill those two forms out. Those two forms are only filled out by petitioners with minor children. And yes, both the petitioner and respondent must fill out those two forms. The respondent's also going to fill out Form FL330 or Form FL335. Now, the respondent does have the option to use a process server and have that process server mail their filed response to the petitioner, or the respondent can choose to have the process server personally hand deliver the response to the petitioner. So whichever method the process server decides to take, they're going to be using one or the other form. And again, the respondent may also be required to complete local court forms, which will be discussed in a subsequent lesson. So that's it for this lesson. Please proceed to reading the content on this webpage and email us at info@sdsquire.com if you have any questions.